Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of SchmoeTalks. Thank you guys once again for joining us. My name is Aaron Knoll, and I'm super excited to have you guys back. And we are here once again with another exciting show. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these. Obviously, we took a break. We had some interviews. I talked to one of our TMG fellows, Kevin Smets. And we talked about not only the Schmoedown, but our specific Geek Fan League, which was a lot of fun. We had our free-for-all special. We've had a couple of great interviews the last couple of weeks with Jeremy Adams and David B., but we are back with our Flashback Series. I'm super excited to be back doing this. And I'm joined by two great fans who were both able to join me for our free-for-all special, who are back. Up first, making his debut on the show proper. He made his debut on the Free For All special, and I know he told me to introduce him as Soda, but I'm going to say it just to get it right. It is Matt Mageau, better known as Soda. Matt, thank you for joining me on this show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for getting it right on the second try.
I did.
For me, by the way.
I'm a learner. I learn. I don't fucked up twice.
What it is like the original spelling of my last name was Majeau, but because in French language, J is pronounced a G and G is pronounced a J. It got mixed in the census, so that's how my name is. So cursed is my ancestors.
So I'm assuming people hit the hard G a lot.
Yeah, I get Mageau a lot and Mageau. Those are the two I get the most frequently.
Oh, Mageau, that's not even fair. Come on now.
Yeah.
there's a lot of vowels, but there's no O. That's not fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Matt, I'm so glad to have you here. I'm going to drop you to the back for just 1 second while we introduce our second panelist. He is another returning panelist to the show. He is around the fan league communities. If you guys have seen him, he is Mr. Jacob Barber joining me on screen. Jacob, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Just finished a picture-in-picture trivia match. So, that was a lot of fun. I'm excited to talk Schmoedown now.
Absolutely. I'll have to talk to Kevin when this uploads and tell him to put you on that night so that line actually makes sense. That's what I'll have to do.
Well, it was live. This is the picture-in-picture trivia.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'll have him put you on that night so that way it all lines up.
Nice.
No.
There we go.
Let's bring Soda back in, guys. So here we are. So we are back once again. It's been a little bit. So if you joined us during one of our interview episodes for the first time to kind of explain how this works, what we're going to be doing is we are going through only the first third, basically, of season 6, because there's a lot in here. Even in that third, I've kind of broken it down, taken out some matches, pulled what I felt were either the biggest impact or the most important matches. And we're going to kind of go through beat by beat and discuss these matches, what we remember from them, and kind of just overall talk about the beginning of season 6. And entering season 6, we were following season 5, which had the biggest story beat to date with the corruption storyline that was concluded at the end of, or not really at the end, more at the beginning of the Spectacular, but it was concluded at Spectacular. And we opened the season, and season 6, I've jokingly called the season of the live events, because this really was the pinnacle of live events, and I'm curious to see how long it takes us to get back to this many live events, because we had one near almost every month. And while we're not going to necessarily talk about all of them, just the ones that bring us the best moments, we do have to talk about the first one, which was that live from New York, incredible atmosphere, and I wasn't even there. That's just watching it. We had Chance Ellison take on Janine the Machine in the undercard, and that was a match that ended 19-7. Chance Ellison getting his first singles win after falling to Ethan Irwin. Speaking of Irwin, this match was followed by Mr. Ethan Irwin taking on Dan Murrell in his first title defense, and that would end with Murrell reclaiming the title from Ethan Irwin just 1 month after Irwin won it from Roca. So, Jacob, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts on this event? Kind of what do you remember? What stands out?
I just remember Dan doing it again, winning the championship. It seems like he's going to be around that title until he decides to step away again. So that's what I remember mostly. This isn't a live event I remember a lot about, actually. I just remember that Dan and Irwin had a really good competitive trivia match, and for a guy like me, that's what I care about the most. I'm not the biggest fan of the storylines. I just want to watch good trivia, which is weird because I'm a wrestling fan. But when it comes to this, like the trivia is the part I'm drawn to the most, and that match is a great example of two guys who really know their movie trivia.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree 100%. Soda, what were your thoughts on that event?
Well, yeah, I remember this event very fondly because, like Jacob, I am a wrestling fan, and this reminds me of like 1998, 1997 WWE in a way. Because in the first match, remember, Janine the Machine was a heel going into this pay per view, and her during the event, the crowd turned her face. Like she was an automatic made face right after that. So that's one thing I'll remember is how much the crowd embraced her. And the second thing I'll remember is when Dan won the belt and the reaction he got. It reminded me of Austin winning the belt. The volume of the crowd, everyone chanting "You deserve it," and the atmosphere of it watching live was just. I made me wish I was in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as somebody who wasn't even there, it just comes off as one of the best atmospheres I think they've ever had at a live event. It's also worth mentioning that it's a good thing this match was against someone who seems very humble and gracious, like Ethan, because I don't know how most competitors would have taken losing and then having the person beat you get "you deserve it" chance.
Yeah,
that's one of those things, but not a better person to do it than Ethan, because I feel like he'll take that, brush it off, and go make some Hollywood money. So he'll be all right.
And then on to your other point, we're going to be getting to back to this amount of live events because now Skybound's involved, so you know that they're going to be fun in the bill.
Oh, absolutely. And they worked so well, it's impossible to imagine that.
100%. They're money makers. I wouldn't be surprised once everything goes back to normal if maybe they'll try to get bigger venues.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah. Although venues like this one in New York, and I think the other one as well in
LA.
Yeah, like there are some good venues that they've been in that I think brought the bigger places are great, but I think sometimes even the smaller places have brought some real atmosphere that makes it really good. All right, so let's keep it moving. So following that, in the early part of the season, we had some title runs happen. So off of the tournament, we had a number one contenders match in teams. We had the Harris brothers take on Critically Acclaimed in a match that would see Critically Acclaimed win by TKO 24-20. And I believe this was actually the Harris brothers' last ever match as well. So there's that one. We have Rachel Cushing took on Adam Holovic. That was a 17-13 win by TKO for Rachel. And then speaking of events, we get to the first ever SchmoeDown Throwdown, in which Mike Kalinowski took on Rachel Cushing for the title in what would end in a 31-30 Ninka style win, in which we would see Rachel become the champion. And then quickly following that, Critically Acclaimed challenged for the titles against the Shire Wolves, involving Rachel Cushing and Clark Wolf, not Rachel Clark. I don't know who that is, but if you're out there, good for you. And following that match, the Shire Wolves got another defense under their belts, 35-33, taking the victory there. Soda, I'll go to you this time. What do you remember about this run of title matches? Which of these matches stands out to you the most?
First, honestly, it'll always be Kalinowski Cushing for the title. That's the one that will always stand out to me because that was the first from studio pay-per-view. And plus, we all knew Rachel's history going into this because everyone was saying she's one of the greatest IG players of all time, but she hadn't won the belts up to that point. And you had Kalinowski, who was, I'd argue, was probably the hottest he's ever been at that time. At that time, he was probably the number one SchmoeDown superstar in terms of just the whole package and riding high the momentum. But I'll never forget the reaction on on Rachel's face when she won. It was just, it reminded me of when Roko won the first belt. Complete, utter relief. And it's the whole celebration went around with it. Her interview, bringing in Harloff's daughter, like it was just a special event. It was a shot in the dark, and it paid off. It paid off.
Yeah, 100%. Jacob, what were your thoughts? I got to echo that. 100%. Like that's one of the greatest moments in my opinion. Just that moment of Rachel winning the belt, and the embrace between her and Kalinowski, even though he's a bad guy. Seeing the human side of the characters is great. And it was a great match again. You know, I'm in it for the trivia, and that was another example of just great trivia.
Yeah,
and
it was. Man, I'd argue probably my favorite year, just because of the run that we got from the Shire Wolves and Clark and Rachel Cushing in particular that year.
Yeah, and even the title match between the Shire Wolves and critically acclaimed. Like I'm a big Bibiani fan. I think he's probably he's definitely top 3 when it comes to just knowledge of movies for sure. I was pulling for him. But it's hard to be mad when the Shire Wolves, keep the belts because they're so likable. They're such a good team.
Yeah.
So, that's one where, I was happy with the result either way. And again, just good matches.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of these weird things where, I think on an overall, people would probably agree that William Bibiani is better off paired with Brendan Meyer. They've obviously found more success. But I think it is insane, and they're one of many teams to fall into this trap that, critically acclaimed score 33 points, and not only do they not win, but they don't ever get a title scoring that high, and pretty consistently, as we've seen over the course of the past episodes when we've brought up their matches. They were a consistently well-performing team, and the fact that they never were able to get it done before breaking up is rather insane, considering how good they were.
Mm-hmm.
I think even crazier than people talk about now, who's the boss never doing it. I would say even critically acclaimed are more consistent than them. Maybe Who's the Boss played better at times, but they also played worse at times. They weren't inconsistent enough, and I think that's insane that they were never able to do it, because Whitney, unfortunately, has not had that same level of success since.
No.
It's just not worked out. So moving into the next couple of matches, so around this time as well, and I'm kind of splitting these up differently because there's so much happening at once, we have a couple of big debuts from people who would go on to become huge in the Schmoedown. Now, the 2 biggest ones I'm going to save till a little later because I want to talk about their runs in succession with each other. But the 2 other ones we had this story match that got set up between Bateman and Dagnino and Guy and Burnett. And I mean, it seemed like a match made in heaven. We'll get to the antics of Dagnino and Burnett later. But Guy and Bateman were both kind of at that time probably looked at as around equal footing. Dagnino and Burnett were basically dead weight. This was a singles match with an extra helping hand. Except they pulled the heel switch, and this was the first time we got to see the family, in which Drew McWeeny was brought back out, paired with Andrew Guy, and this began one of their great runs that gets picked up later in the season. So they debuted around this time. We also had Liz Shannon Miller debut against, God help me to get this name right, Demi Adejuyigbe. I definitely butchered his name, but he is for those who don't know, he's a writer for The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and he made this one appearance. Miller wins 16-14, and he's unfortunately, I know he's been on rosters, but he's had to be dropped because of availability and never come back. I'll let you guys, because I assume we're going to go to the family match, which the family did obviously win because that's the family versus Ben Bateman. But I want to talk about this Miller match because, I mean, that 16-14 on your first singles match is solid scores from both competitors. I mean, we've seen scores like a 14-16 win you both times this season. So from rookies, those are very solid numbers. I think it's kind of unfortunate that Demi never got a chance to play again because he definitely showed the interest and the intrigue. I don't know how well you guys remember that match. But I remember really enjoying him. And I think it's kind of just sucks that scheduling wise, he's never been able to work it out to come back. But I think he'd do all right if he did come back because he played, again, 14 points isn't terrible. But I'll go ahead and go to actually, so do you look like you wanted to get something?
Yeah, I was just saying, to be honest, I don't remember that match all that well. I do remember the family one, but yeah, the Liz Shannon Miller one, the only thing I remember about it going in was, okay, I hope this Liz lives up to the hype that Kristen put on her. That's really the only thing I remember going into it. But the family versus Bateman and Dagnino, I remember watching that and going, once upon a time, it would have been Dagnino that would have pulled the switch. And,
yeah,
it's true. It would have been him that would have done it once upon a time. And I like these matches once in a while. It's unfortunate we probably won't get them in the faction era anymore. But matches like this, storyline matches every once in a while, are a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say one of the things, because this was one of the matches that I rewatched going into this, I was actually shocked. Dagnino didn't play terribly in this game. This actually might have been one of his better performances, you know?
It's because Bateman got on him and said, look, we're studying.
Yeah, like, it's kind of impressive. Bateman almost turned him into a reasonable player. Jacob, out of these two matches, which do you remember more?
Definitely the tag match. Until you just put that graphic up, forgot that was a match that happened in in this season. But I definitely remember the family one because I was shocked that Drew McWeeny was teaming up with Andrew Guy. But as soon as the match started, I was like, no, this actually makes sense. Like, I think Andrew Guy is a great teams player. Singles, we've seen him be not as good. But I think in teams with the right teammate, he's very good. Yeah. And so I remember seeing this start, and I'm like, okay, I want to see what this team can do. And so it sparked my interest. And then yeah, like you said, Dagnino, I remember him surprising me as well, and actually not being terrible.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. Dagnino wasn't terrible.
So this was before or after the train wreck of a match with him and Burnett? I don't remember that. Was this before or after?
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. So let's go ahead and move on. So again, one of the things that I like to do is I kind of like to group up title runs and kind of bounce them off each other and see. And right around this time, we're heading into kind of the April-May territory. We're kind of, now at this point, we're starting to build a little closer towards the first big event. Obviously, the free-for-all happens, but we're building towards kind of the collision this year. And we had a couple of number one contenders matches, or roads to happen. So obviously people remember, or if you don't, we had the Star Wars Celebration exclusive match that happened, which introduced a number of people who would go on to be contenders in the league. Joseph Scrimshaw, obviously, Molly Damon, Andrew DeMolanta, Laura Kelly, and then poor old Andrew Blanchard there making his only debut. This match would end in a Scrimshaw win, 31 to him, 25 to Damon, 29 to DeMolanta, 28 to Laura Kelly, and 7 points to Andrew Blanchard. If it makes you feel any better, I really he works well. He worked at the time for like Rooster Teeth. I think that was like a Funhouse connection. That's how he ended up there. I like Rooster Teeth. So around this time, we also had a singles run that was happening in the studios matches. William Bibiani took on Lon Harris, a match which he won by TKO 16-14. John Roca took on Mark Andraco, a match which Roca won. And then we got a match which I somehow realized weeks later I forgot to grab a graphic for. But we had the number one contenders match between Ethan Irwin, William Bibiani, and John Roca, one of the few three-way matches we've ever had. And that match ends 27 to Bibiani, Irwin 23, and Roca 15. That one kind of being his bad performance. And then, of course, to round this section out, we had the live event, Who's the Boss versus the Odd Couple, in which the Odd Couple won 27 to 26. You'll, of course, remember that this was the match in which Ben Bateman got the shit rocked out of him by Roxy Stryer. I do not have a picture of that because I don't like pushing domestic disputes on the internet. But with that said, it did happen. Jacob, I'll go ahead and go to you first, man. There's 5 matches there. Which of them kind of stands out to you the most? Do you remember?
None of them really stand out more than the other. I just remember them all being really solid matches. I'm going to reiterate it. I'm in it for the trivia. That's why I watch. So I just, minus John Roca's 15-point performance, which is very uncharacteristic of him. Just solid trivia. I remember rooting for Bibiani the whole time. Like I said, I'm a fan of his. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I wanted to see him win the singles belt, which happened once, and I hope it happens again. But yeah, just solid matches. These are all fun players to watch. So Yeah, nothing major is standing out to me other than really solid, entertaining trivia matches.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think all of these, even the singles ones, which were a little low scoring, all things considered, like 16-14, we just talked about that for a rookies match, and that was a match building to a number one contendership. But it is kind of funny. Every time it seems like a triple threat happens, it seems like it falls into this formula where it's like there's the two people who are competing, and then the third one's kind of there. Because the other one I remember is the title match that they did, and that was Roca and Dan were really competing, and Riley kind of just crapped out and like definitely came third. Which is kind of a weird pattern that it seems to follow. It just always seems like someone kind of gets sat behind.
Well, there was one last year that I felt broke that, and that was the live event triple threat between Merle, Bibiani, and
yes, yeah. Finally, one of them where like all three really came to play. So I go to you. Which of these matches, if you remember, which kind of stands out to you the most?
It's the Who's the Boss versus the Odd Couple. More so because of the whole live event atmosphere, and knowing Ben and Roxy's past, it was like, okay, they're going to be meeting in the Schmoedown on live TV. What the hell is going to happen? And of course, the slap lived up to it. That's one where it's like I think she could have gone away with slapping him that hard because of
they knew each other.
Exactly. And that's what I remember. And if I'm not mistaken, this was Jeff Snyder's first live event. And it's like the dude is made for the live event. I remember. Oh,
it turns out. So here, this will date this. I put together the image list for this a while ago. I did take screenshots from the three-way. They were just lower. I don't know how that happened, but there we go. Bibiani, and he did set a new singles record in that match. I do remember that, which that seems a little sideways considering it's a three-way. There technically is more options to score, but who cares? So we'll go ahead and move on to three matches that happen. And again, kind of we were talking about the run-ups in terms of the the run-ups to these title matches, and then the actual title matches happen. Now, these three matches did not contain a slap, but they did contain, as Jacob says, very good trivia. So we had Alex Damon at that same event take on Joseph Scrimshaw, and that ended 33-29, seeing Damon defend the belt for the second time at that point. Then back in the studio, we got Dan Murrell taking on William Bibiani, and this would end in a TKO win for Murrell, 17-14. And then we had the title match in which the Shire Wolves took on the Odd Couple, and this would finally see the beloved Shire Wolves be dethroned as the Odd Couple would take it 25-22 with a bragging Jeff Snyder and a nearly dead-looking Mark Andreyko by the looks of it. He looks about ready to hyperventilate and drop over. Soda, I'll go to you. Of the three title matches in this kind of time period, which do you remember being as the best?
It's the Shire Wolves again versus the Odd Couple. What I remember about that was Jeff. It's like, holy shit, he's the first person to ever win with two different opponents. So I remember that.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was not long after his mom had passed away. And I remember because he had brought it up in an interview after a match, and I think it was this match. I can't 100% confirm that. So if that is the case, then I remember that moment because that was real. And it was just like, holy shit, somebody dethroned the Shire Wolves. And to be honest, I think the Shire Wolves were the most likely to match the Patriots' record. I don't think anybody will come close for defenses.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think, to me, that shows, like, an evolving era of competition, right? And especially with this series, like, whenever it's all complete, you can kind of really look at it as we break down every title match. And, like, as the further and further we get, the less and less the defenses seem to fly, unless you're Dan Murrell. And I think that really says it all, right? Which is the truth of the better and better the competition gets, the harder it's going to be to defend. I think as good as the Patriots played, they defended in an era where the teams weren't all as strong. Yeah. And elements like we talked about the MODOK match, right, where they basically lost the title because Matt Ashby was so stuck in character he couldn't get past it.
Yeah.
Moments like that, like for the heavy characters, moments like that wouldn't happen today. I don't think they fall into that trap, that or they wouldn't do it. And so it's going to be very difficult. I'd love to see the team that could match it. Even match it. You don't have to beat it. I'd just love to see the team that could match it. And the Shire Wolves gave it a solid effort. Jacob, I'll go to you. Which of these matches stands out to you?
It's the same. Just echoing everything that Soda said. Just seeing the Shire Wolves go down finally. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be Who's the Boss. As good of a team as the Odd Couple is, I thought Who's the Boss was the better team at the time. So, in my mind, I was thinking if Who's the Boss isn't going to do it, I don't think anyone's going to. And so it was that shock factor that the Odd Couple did it. And the team name is very fitting, too, because Jeff Snyder and Mark and Draco are two completely different people. And so seeing them, the celebrations they do together when they win are pretty fun. So I'm just echoing everything.
And Draco, and again, these were just snapshot moments that I capture. I don't know, and Draco literally looks like he's checking for a pulse there.
I don't see him taunting the Shire Wolves, to be honest.
Well, I considering he was teammates with them, that'd just be in poor taste.
Yeah.
But it's and I mean I do have to touch on it because it's part of another, I think, what we could call a very good legendary run almost in the SchmoeTalks. But again, Alex Damon defending this time for the first time in front of a real live crowd, and I believe, if I'm correct, the biggest crowd they've ever had in an event.
It's in Chicago.
Yeah, I think that's because I know I was at Orlando and that definitely wasn't 1,000 people. You can just look at it and tell.
Chicago, I believe, does still hold the record. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that says it all right there, man. Just all those people cheering and yelling, and again, this was a hell of a match, man. The Star Wars division is almost a damn shame. Are both of you guys patrons?
Yeah.
Have both of you seen the match that aired technically at this point 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
Not yet, but I know who wins.
Okay, so for the sake of the fact that this is pre-recorded, I can say that it's unfortunate that players who show they have so much skill, like a Scrimshaw or an Adam Witt, have these 1-5 and 0-4 records. It's incredible how cutthroat that division is. People can play consistently well and not win, and that's incredible to be in that type of competition.
What I remember.
Scrimshaw.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry, please.
No, I was going to say what I remember from that time was thinking this is going to be a one-sided division. There's going to be no one for a long time to take down this guy. Because I remember thinking of that at the very beginning. And lo and behold, it took 2 years, almost 3 years.
3 years over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is rather impressive. And even then, I'd still say, as competitive as it is, I think it'd be far-fetched to say that one of them could beat them. I think everyone's talking about the Dragon Con players, and obviously, again, at this point, I can say all of them have a win now. When this finally goes up, some of them may have more than one win. I've never hidden that this is pre-recorded. We honestly don't know. But it's a fact of I think that we'll have to see them really go on a run to see if they could even beat Damon, right? Because I think Harper, for example, went perfect for perfect, perfect, except for that one question. I don't know if Damon would make that one choice on that one question. You know what I mean? That's how good he is. And now Demolanta being the one to beat him, that's the level you're playing at. And again, guys like Scrimshaw, who's 1-4, 1-5 in the Star Wars division. I forget how many losses specifically he has. One of his losses wasn't even technically a loss. He lost on a technicality because his answer wasn't specific enough, but he did kind of have the correct answer.
Which match
against Demolanta in the tournament, remember?
Oh, yes.
I think it was he said Luke and Demolanta said Luke. I forget what it is, but it's Luke something.
Yeah. And
he challenged it, and it's it was more specific, so we have to give it to him. That's how cutthroat that division is. It's incredible. So we'll go ahead and move on, though, to another set of matches. And those were the intense title matches. These are more of the fun matches. We got the Founding Fathers versus the Wildberries, which the Founding Fathers, honestly, it is kind of funny looking back on it because I didn't really think about it. I know they got their title shot by cashing in a reward, but considering one of the teams they played on the way to that was the Wildberries, it is rather incredible. The Founding Fathers, for what it's worth, did win 22-17 by TKO, but what really matters is the fact that Makuga gave this a better shakedown than he ever gave any woman. I mean, that is just all up in him. I mean, look at it. It is getting I wish the scoreboard wasn't there. We get to see even more of it, but I guess it'd be X-rated. So we had that match. We also had around this time Bateman versus Guy, the live event in a literal wrestling ring that was simply by accidental nature one of the most lopsided things you have ever seen. Bateman would win 19-5 by KO. And around this time, we also got an Inner Geekdom four-way that introduced not one, but three people who would go on to prove some serious skill. Chance Ellison, Chandru Dandapani, and Brandon Hanna all make their IG debuts. Hanna would win with 26. Chance is close behind 22. Chandru 21, and Keaton Marquis with 7. Although, again, unfortunately for her, she's never quite been able to make her way in terms of points in the division. Soda, I'll go to you. Which of these kind of three, a little more lighthearted matches, do you remember the best?
Oh, it's easily the Houston live event because, as is mentioned, and Jacob's in the same boat as me, we're wrestling fans. And so to see them in an actual wrestling ring in what where the roots of this comes from was really, really cool. It added a certain dynamic to see these guys actually have actual proper entrances on an actual entryway. I remember Bateman spinning Spinner's Choice twice, and it's just like, holy crap! Like that'll the odds of that are just, ugh. And of course, it's the chair shot at the very end.
And I have it there. There he is, laid out.
Yeah, and also I couldn't help but think that Bateman looked like Clark Kent during this match.
He really did. He really did.
Thick glasses, and he had the spit curl.
He really did. He came out. It's kind of funny because the images show them both in these like zoot suit looking things, and then they come out, and you're right. Like Bateman looks like Clark Kent, and Guy looks like he's going to the skate shop after this. Yeah. So,
and to be honest, this is the look I prefer on Andrew Guy.
The casual, like no suits, more casual.
Here, yeah.
Yeah, it's a clean look. It is a clean look. I cannot lie. Jacob, I feel like I know where you're going, but which of these stands out to you?
Yeah, it's Bateman versus Guy, and this is like one of those very few matches where I was more entertained by everything else other than the trivia. Like this was just an entertaining match. It was fun to watch.
The match did end at the round one.
Well, yes. After 3 questions, there was no longer a trivia match happening. It was just 2 guys in a ring entertaining us. And honestly, I like that more than the actual trivia match itself. Just these 2 guys going at it because they're friends. And I feel like when you're friends, you can play off each other a little bit more. And these 2 played off each other so well. And it was highly entertaining. Seeing Booker T was awesome. So definitely Bateman versus Guy was one of, it's not the best match, but it's one of the most entertaining, I think, that I've seen.
Yeah. It's the most pro wrestling this whole thing will ever get.
and it's worth mentioning because we're talking about pro wrestling, right? Wrestling is known for factions, and the fact that this match had so much going on, it wasn't even naturally brought up. But we had the foundation, technically, of the 5 Horsemen, as they had come to be known. This version of it. There we have a cowboy, a homeless man, Clark Kent, a Superman wannabe, and Dan Merle in the 5 Horsemen. I feel like Merle has his own design look. Like nobody else is wearing, by the looks of it, faded jeans, a flannel. Is that an Incredible shirt? It looks like it kind of has the logo in the middle.
It's hard to tell.
And then the glasses and the hat. Like that's a look all for himself.
I want to see Rocco versus Merle. Loser can't wear their hat in the next match.
Nice. No, it's amazing. It's amazing how much this event felt like a wrestling event. Like I remember watching that shot you had of them all up on the stage, and I remember thinking like, this is how like a Monday Night Raw would end sometimes. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, absolutely. They really did bring the wrestling feel. I will say as well though with this match, one of my favorite things about it is, and again, this is one of the ones that I did watch back because I just find it so entertaining. I love how you can clearly see them talking to each other as it's happening, and for what you can read from that distance where the camera's fixed at, the conversation is variations of "Holy shit, how is this going this way? Like, this is perfect." You know. Like, Andrew Guy has never been happier getting his ass kicked because it's so entertaining. And it's just like, it does not matter at that point. But I think it is worth mentioning with the other two as well to bring up briefly, like, the IG four-way, you know, obviously Hannah, unfortunately, quite hasn't shaken out to, I think, what people expected him to be able to do. But Chandru and Chance, especially Chandru, you know, I think both shocked people, you know, because Chance came in, and as far as I'm aware, from what I remember, Chance did play IG in the fan leagues, but it wasn't something that anyone expected him to be able to do when he went into the Schmoedown. It just wasn't, because people weren't paying attention to the fan leagues. You know what I mean? It's not like people knew his history, really. They just knew where he came from. Yeah. It's not like Robert Parker, where like people were literally watching and be like, oh, he could do this. And so I think he shocked a lot of people, and then Chandru obviously became a champ. So that's big for him to kind of get his intro there and be outplayed by someone he'd end up beating twice. And then, of course, for the road. I mean, just everything about that, man. I mean, let's talk about the. Oh my God, what is John Travolta's name from Saturday Night Live?
Oh shit!
Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Fever. Damn it.
I can't remember.
Like he looks like
Tony Manero.
Thank you, Tony. He looks like Tony Manero with the open jacket, the crazy colors. Dewberry in the back is transfixed. I don't know if it's on the belt or his cock. I really can't tell. That or it's the beer glaze taking over his eyes. And Dan Murrell, I remember the moment because I don't have the shot of them, but like Dan Murrell's kind of just like relaxed, like as relaxed Dan Murrell, and Roke is the one having a fit on the side, like, you can't fucking do that, you can't do that. Ah! And I'm just like, keep grinding it, baby. Just keep going. Don't stop.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah, it's legitimately, it might be the reason they ended up getting a new belt shortly after. I don't know if that belt could go near Makuga's lower end and survive. Maybe they already had a new one and they were just like, well, we're going to chuck this anyways. Hey, Makuga, you want to dance on it a little bit? Serenade it out. Oh, what a moment. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. So we've talked about some title matches. We talked about the fun matches. Let's get into this. All right, so this season we had not one but two players make their debut, both of whom would go on tears very quickly because the first three matches of those tears kind of fall into this first section that we'll get in this video. The first one is primetime Paul Oyama. So we know, I believe if it wasn't the first match of the season, aside from the live event, it was very early in the year. Oyama makes his debut being the second Fan League player to cross over officially. He takes on Brendan Meyer, who debuts as well, and that match ends 19-17 to Oyama. Then Oyama is put up against Makuga, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was punishment from Makuga doing a lap dance on the belts. Makuga goes out mercilessly 14-12 by TKO.
I love that screenshot.
It is, yeah. Like I don't know if Makuga was scared or dancing. I don't remember. It looks like a bit of both. And then we had, which I think this brings up an interesting debate that they played each other, because we had Paul Oyama and Chance Ellison, who here have looked like angry sitcom brothers, took each other on, and Oyama would take down Ellison 22-19, which would then set him up for a number one contenders match that we will get to next video. But Jacob, on this initial three-run match of Meyer, Makuga, and Ellison, which of these do you remember? Which of these stands out? And just initial thoughts, what did you think of Paul when he first entered the league?
I didn't know anything about Paul. I wasn't paying attention to the fan leagues. I didn't even know it was a thing at this point. So yeah, knowing nothing about him and just seeing that first match against Brendan, I was like, okay, this guy's good. Like, he knows his stuff. Like, obviously 19 points is a great score.
Yeah.
And then he beat Makuga, which isn't surprising, but Makuga has been known to, pull out some wins that you don't expect him to pull out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, look at that face. Is that not the face of the winner?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's the face of something.
Well, he's won in life, so.
Yeah.
Hey, true. He is winning in life right now.
Yeah.
Soda, what were your thoughts on Paul Oyama when he entered the league and kind of this initial run?
I hated his fucking guts. I hated his guts, and the reason being is his attitude. I guess it's like, I don't know, the old school in me. It's just like this hot shot. Again, didn't know the fan leagues existed at this point. To me, it was like this hot shot punk comes off the street, is claiming he's the best in the world, hasn't paid his dues, all this stuff, and just acting like an arrogant son of a bitch I wanted to punch in the face. That's all I remember. Now, to be honest, he's since won me over. I really do like watching him play. I love his character work. But at that time, it was just like, I forgot about the pro wrestling thing. It's like, I want to beat this kid up. And of course, in hindsight, Paul Oyama versus Brendan Meyer, like, who would have seen both of them where they are right now, right?
Yeah, honestly. Right. That's one of those where, like, you look back on it and you just think, damn, like, the fact that one of them had to start off with a loss is crazy.
Yeah. And then of course, after a while, you started hearing about all the fan league stuff, and then to see Oyama and Nelson face each other so early in their career with all that background behind them, and that also stands up for me, because I remember it's like, okay, I hear these guys are good. Let's see how they play against each other.
Yeah, and 22-19 is a pretty solid match.
Yeah.
I mean, Chance is another one, man. And I've said this to him. I think he's incredibly unlucky to be with the record he's at, because I can't think of a bad match he's ever played in singles. No. It's just doesn't.
I can't think of a bad match ever, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly. Man, he's good. So again, I had a bit of a different perspective on this, and we kind of mentioned it briefly because when we talked about Chance entering the league, I had the pleasure of having Chance here with us. I don't know Paul quite as well. That one wouldn't have been as easy to get, but I did speak to Paul briefly before he entered the Schmoedown. This was back when we were doing Movie Battleground on our channel, and Paul was still in the fan leagues, and I was in the process of getting him to play a match, but at the time where we were kind of setting things up, he was in the middle of moving, and then in quick succession, he moved from where he was at college back to where he is now, and then he began kind of going between there and LA, and then he entered the Schmoedown, and then I stepped away from Movie Battleground. So it was just a very unfortunate piece of events where I never got him into it, and we were never able to get him a match. But my interactions with him were always incredibly positive. So it was kind of like Chance, right? We're like, I know Chance. I consider Chance a friend. He's a great guy. So when I saw him step in and he's putting on, this jacket and the sunglasses and acting like a dickbag, I was like, okay, so they're having him play an act. And then I see Paul, who's another really nice guy who I'd had the chance to speak to briefly, going in and doing the same thing. I was kind of like, man, I kind of feel like they're setting Paul up to kind of fail a little bit here. Like, they're giving him the same exact gimmick. And initially it did, yeah, because you're not the only person who felt that way. A lot of people had it out for him when he. Yeah,
I felt like that about Chance now that I'm thinking about it, but not as too much of a degree. I had the same feeling like, who's this punk ass coming in here, right?
Right, exactly. Right, he went from being this, like, literally, and I pulled the image up as a joke in the episode, but like he went from being this faceless figure that got paired with Kalinowski to walking out with all the confidence in the world, pulling perfect rounds and carrying you in through matches and shit. And it's like, yeah, it really is interesting how the dynamic has changed of it from like what these guys played in the fan leagues and they think they're good to now it's like, oh shit, they played in the fan leagues. Oh damn, they might be something. These guys, along with the gentleman we'll get to next, I think changed that dynamic really and made it, because I mean, just a year later, Parker would enter the league, and Parker having his first year end at 2-1 was considered disappointing.
Yeah.
That's insane, right?
Before we go on to the next thing, one of the things that I do remember switching my mind about Paul and Chance was realizing that, no, they, like you said, they really are good guys in real life. And then that's when I realized, oh shit, they're really good at this. Like, if they're good enough to make me hate them just on how they behave, they do their job well.
Yeah. And it is worth saying that, like, the fan leagues, and Jacob, I know you play, so you can prescribe to this. The fan leagues never really have done character. So it's not like these guys were having practice being dickheads on camera. Like, this was okay, you're in, this is your role, go. And like I've said it to him, I said it to him on the episode, and I said it to him privately, like, I give Chance a lot of credit, because to get chucked in immediately into a storyline, that's tough. That's really tough, especially when you're not an actor. And he did it really, really well.
Not many people could have pulled it off, and I don't think he could pull it off without Kalinowski beside him.
True. Kalinowski is what made that, but they worked well off each other. So let's move on to the other gentleman who, and people know the story. He auditioned for the Schmoedown through the old fan Patreon audition they used to do. He got rejected, but was recommended to the fan leagues based off of how well, specifically the one that Chance played in, Full Metal. And he went there for a bit, played, honed himself up, and came back. And that is the one, Kevin Smets, who at the time that this is going up, it'll be a few weeks past, but we just recently found out at the time of the recording that everything is hopefully looking in a positive direction for Kevin and his fight against cancer. I know you guys on your show, Shooting the Breeze, have the hashtag consistently, hashtag Smash Cancer. And again, absolutely, I don't know Kevin personally, but I know a lot of people that he does know. And so with that, I do say, Kevin, I hope things continue to go up in an upward trend, man. This is the best thing that could happen.
Agreed.
So let's get into him smashing more than cancer, because this man, holy shit. He enters against fellow rookie David Moore. He wins 21-11 by TKO. He is then called out by Jay Washington, who he knocks out 20-7. And as if he couldn't up that by one more, he goes up against Hector Navarro, who then calls him out and knocks him out 21-7, in which he ends the match by walking off the set proclaiming, "Give me Kalinowski." A match he would soon get for next episode. But let's talk about these three matches right here. Soda, I go to you first. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely the Hector Navarro match, because this was Hector Navarro's, it turned out to be his last match, I believe, but also it was his first match in a long time. But still, you go in, it's like, this guy is one of the second IG champ, like, he knows his stuff, and Smets just destroyed him. And the way he left that stage, like, before they even announced the word, "Give me Kalinowski," and he walked right off, I was like, woo! Who is this guy? And I do remember also seeing Kaiser for the first time and going, I don't like him. But that's another one on the flip side. Kaiser won me over big time, because when we started Schmoes of the North, he was one of the first Schmoedown personalities we got, and he was a big advocate for us. And so for that, I will always be eternally grateful. And he's a good dude. But I do remember watching that the first time. I'm like, who's this prick?
Which I think is the sign of the great character work he puts in. Because, he is such a genuinely sweet guy. I have had the opportunity to talk to him a number of times, including on this show. And he's a great, great guy. And you can tell he's got the love and the passion for this in a way that, and I'd say everyone who's involved with it does love it and enjoys doing it, but he's got that extra sense of, like, he loves being there. And even now, when his character is kind of went from screaming angry man to rambling drunk uncle, it's still committed 100%.
Yeah, and one of the things, he's one of those, I think wrestling was, I know wrestling was a big influence on, because when I did interview him the first time, that is one that he touched down a lot, because I told him he reminded me a lot of Bobby the Brain Heenan, and he said, funny enough, he was friends with my dad. I was just like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, he's one of those, he gets it. He gets it, and that's why he's one of the best around right now.
Absolutely. Jacob, what were your thoughts on kind of when Kevin entered the league and those initial few matches?
Man, the guy went on a tear. Like, he looked unstoppable. And it was weird. I remember watching his first match with David Moore, and those two couldn't be more opposites of each other. You got Kevin, who's just the serious guy, and David's smiling the whole time, like he's just happy to be there.
Which is funny because his image makes him look like he's trying to be tough, but he's really.
Yeah. But he was just like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm having a good time, and that was really funny to me. But yeah, no, he showed his knowledge, and when he destroyed Hector, I was like, oh, because Hector's a former champ, and he proved that he knows his stuff. And when Smets, knocked him out, I was like, man, yeah, give him Kalinowski, please.
Which, if I remember correctly, and it's unfortunate, I think Hector has one of the most unceremonious exits for a champ ever. Because if I remember the order correctly, he got smashed by Hlavik. Then in the tournament, I think he played Kalinowski. It was either Kalinowski or Cushing he played in the tournament. And they also destroyed him. And then he took a year off, came back, played Smets, got destroyed again, and then never played a match.
So I've actually got his run. Yes, it's 3 straight losses. Actually, he's 2-4. So the last match was Smets. The one before that was, almost a year ago to the day. 13 days separate the dates. That's insane. Was to Adam Hlavik. And then his last match prior to that was when he lost the belt to Inman.
Oh, it was Inman. Okay, I confused the two. There we go. Yeah. But even that match, I don't, and you have the score in front of you, so you can correct me. I don't remember it being all that close.
I didn't know that. Fortunately, this website does not give me the scores.
It does not. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of unfortunate. Like, it's a very, that's what it was. Hlavik smashed Navarro, and then I think it was Kalinowski smashed Hlavik like shortly after in that tournament. That's where I confused it. So it's unfortunate because Hector really was a good player. God, that to me doesn't really reflect poorly on Hector. I think it reflects on the evolution of the league in and of itself.
For sure. Because he was one of the most popular players at that time when he was in his IG.
Yeah. I loved watching him play.
Me too. Yeah. And he didn't take any shit from nobody, and he was good, just as good at getting it back. I remember that.
Yeah. So incredible. And obviously, Kevin's nowhere near done, and both in real life. He'll be back. And I'm sure he'll be looking for more people to just utterly eviscerate.
Yep.
I mean, God, let's just to do the math and add it up overall. Over the course of 3 matches, he scored 62 points. Excuse me. Like, he took these gentlemen, took them to the cleaners, reamed their ass, and then checked it for cancer.
Yeah, because he scored 62 points without
round 3.
Yeah.
Without even the option of getting more points.
It's like Jacob, you'll correct this. It's like watching Goldberg in 1998.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a great reference. I'm sure that's a great reference.
Oh,
it's spot on because Goldberg came in and he went on they made up the number, but it was like 156-0 win streak. Like, he was the hottest. 173. Yeah, he destroyed everybody. Matches didn't last long. It was like Kevin Smets, what he did, but in the pro wrestling world.
Yeah. I mean, that's Kevin Smets, Paul Oyama, 2 guys who entered. They did incredible things upon entering, but we're around June. We're building into the Collision. We're going to take off on the next episode with the Collision, so unfortunately we won't get into it with these guys here. But before we go, we have to talk about what is single-handedly one of the best ever matches in Schmoedown history from 2 legends of the game. Let's get into it. So I actually took round play-by-plays of the scores just to show how sad this really was. So at the end of round 1, which might I remind you, is for a possible of 8 or 9 points, we had a score of 2-1. This was also the match, for those who remember, in which we got the legendary debut of Chazzik Bosman.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. Yes, of course. Yeah, the only thing more embarrassing related to Chadwick than the Oscars ending there. But it's a whole nother discussion. So Dagnino goes up 2-1, which it's kind of unfortunate because Burnett's actually a decent singles player. Like, obviously, this is much later, but he'd play Guy in New York at the start of the next year, and he wasn't all that bad.
And let's not forget, the first IG champ.
True. So it's really funny that this went so awfully. We get into round 2, at which point Robert Meyer Burnett storms the lead 7-3, and that's where Burnett's work would be done, because in what is definitely the saddest TKO ever, Burnett wins by TKO 7-5, and let's take a moment to remember this, Mr. Let's hang him a -1. You would have taken the saddest one of all time had that format existed in this time. Whichever one of you wants to tackle this legendary beast of a match.
I'll let Jacob go first because it seems like I'm always going first. You got nothing?
No, I don't want to remember this match. It's not even one of those it's so bad it's good matches, in my opinion. I forgot this was a thing until you put it in the chat that we have. Like, I forgot this match happened.
It's one I'll never forget.
I love it.
To be honest, I didn't think anything could surpass Humberto Gonzalez's performance. But these two chuckleheads managed to do it. Yeah, it's an abortion. It's an abomination, is what this match is. Yeah,
I mean,
oh my god. Yeah, I'm sorry about using the word abortion. That just popped out because I was trying to find the word. This match wasn't good. Like, it was, as much as we have like all these great matches to show us SchmoeDown, this is like, we're gonna lock that away. We're never gonna show anyone this.
This is why these two guys are managing now, and there's a rule that says they can't play. Oh my god. I mean, yeah, like this, it's kind of funny that you mentioned Humberto, because at least Humberto had the excuse of truly not understanding the game.
Yeah.
These two guys knew the game they were playing.
Was he the guy that tried to steal from Jeff Snyder before Jeff Snyder could answer the question?
Yeah. It was more he gave him the answer, I think.
Right, yeah.
Okay. He said the answer. Like, it was like Jeff Snyder, they were doing the countdown, and he like jumped the gun on the answer and said it, and Jeff was just like, thank you. Yeah.
The good old early days of the SchmoeDown.
Yeah. Which I'd still like to see him come back, and like, even if it's just one match, just to show he learned something. Because that was just
And this is a guy who you would think would, well, he knows his stuff. I mean, he's a legend.
His reporting.
Yeah, he's a legend in the reporting industry. So, I mean...
And to be fair, like they recently uploaded it to the Clips channel. Yeah. And so I actually rewatched that round. When his own spin comes up, like Jeff gets the dominant lead, and then his own spin comes up, and you can tell he's been shaken because he's quick to throw out answers and then immediately realize that he's wrong. Like, it was one of the few first cases of, like, they say, like, the lights can get to you. This is what they mean. Yeah. Because that poor man that man was reamed on screen. Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, it was Jeff Snyder at the other end of the table, so you're not getting the most respect from him.
No.
Yeah, but what a way to end it. We talked about some great title matches. We talked about some great opening runs, and of course, the GOAT of matches. Yeah. I mean, how could you not? I mean, this is clearly the GOAT of matches because they have a G, an O, an A, and a T. They can spell GOAT.
That's the only time GOAT's ever going to be used to describe this match.
Absolutely. Guys, that is going to be it for this episode of SchmoeTalks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Well, at least it happened at the end of the show.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Well.
There we go.
That would happen while we're still recording. I don't know what you guys just did for the last 30 seconds, but thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I really do appreciate it. We'll go around and let both of you guys kind of plug yourselves. Soda, where can people find you?
So you can find me on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find me Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays over the Media Sweaties Network on several shows over there. You can also find me on my other channel, Schmoes of the North, where every week we go and we break down the matches of the week on 2 separate videos, one for the live pay-per-view, one for the other 3 matches of the week. Unless there's no pay-per-view, then we just do the one. And also where we interview people. That's going to be coming back soon. And currently, right now, we are a few of us are reviewing Mighty Ducks: The Game Changers on Disney Plus.
Absolutely. And Jacob, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. Just search my name, Jacob Barber. You can catch me over at Nerd Entertainment Network. I host a show on Sundays called Real Talk with The Real Deal. The Real Deal is a group I'm a part of in combat wrestling trivia, which you can also find. So yeah, check me out there.
All right. And thank you guys so much, both of you guys, for coming on. Glad to have you. Love to have you guys back in the future. To all of you guys watching, please be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, check out all the other content we have here on the channel. Obviously, SchmoeTalks goes up every Monday at 7 p.m. EST, so be sure to check that out every week when it goes live. Tuesday afternoons, we have Cancel This Show, a political show, if you dare to check that out, hosted by Alan Shepard and Matt Beer. Every Friday, currently going on, our own Nikki Sullivan is doing his own reviews of Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is currently airing. Every Saturday at 9 p.m. EST, we have After Dark. That's our weekly hangout show where we talk about all the latest in movie news and whatever else just kind of comes to our mind. So check that out. And on Sundays at noon EST, we have the Supernova Show hosted by Colton Roberts. All your geekiest pleasures and desires are discussed in one place. So check that out if that's what you're into. Guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Gentlemen, again, and actually, I can announce next week's episode because that's the beauty of planning. Obviously, over the last couple of weeks, I kind of took a break from doing these to fit in some other types of videos, and we'll be taking another temporary break again because next week I will be joined by the great Robert Parker, better known to those in the movie Trivia Schmoedown as the Spider, who is recently coming off of a victory, a contentious victory that I look forward to speaking with him about. And it's going to be a very exciting show, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time on SchmoeTalks.